Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Todd?
Present.
Stan?
Yes.
Ed?
Present.
I'm here.
Okay, item number 3 on the agenda is approve the minutes of the previous meeting. And the members should have a copy of the minutes of the previous meeting.
It's 2 L's and A.
That's what.
Does anyone see any additions or corrections to the minutes?
I've had a chance to review them. I move for approval.
Do we have a second?
I don't know how I can second it. I wasn't here.
Okay.
I'll second it. I think I was there.
Okay.
No, I wasn't trying. I was trying to think which one I was or wasn't.
I was on the phone. I can approve it.
All right. We have a second. Roll call.
Todd?
Yes.
Stan?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Poe? Yes.
Okay. Motion approved. Where the song you went, the issue, who's keeping, who made the motions? You got that?
I got it.
Okay. All right, we're gonna move number 8 on our agenda, which is the discussion regarding transportation of hemp with Dr. Bo Hannaford from Northwestern. We're gonna move that up right now. You want to, Bo, go ahead and introduce your guest and proceed.
I appreciate that. Bo Hannaford, Vice President for Academic Affairs at Northwestern, and I've got from HG, I've got Ryan and Corbin. And basically, I talked to Ed. I've gotten a lot of questions once the industrial hemp pilot program came about for the state. We are one of 5 universities that have been approved for the pilot program. We're not growing marijuana. We're not doing those types. It's industrial hemp. It's 3% or less of the THC. But we went into a partnership with HG. Number one, with our research. We are working with probably right now. Farmers have to go through the university to be able to get their license because you have to have a plant science and there has to be a research component through the university. What you're trying to do. Some of the neat things that we're doing with HG is looking at different variations of genetics for seeds that might maybe work in different parts of the state.
Because of the soils they are.
Yeah, the different types of soils. Obviously moisture, type of irrigation systems and those types of things. I talked to Ed briefly. Number one, we have CBD oil obviously is something that's very popular and growing across. A lot of people that are trying this are selling it to those types of distributors. But another thing is that's getting more and more popular, and they've got a lot more knowledge. So if you had questions about it, I wanted you'd be able to ask whatever questions you might be interested in. But actually, the fiber. We've had more and more people, entrepreneurs, that are looking at using the fiber for so many different things than what we used to know. Whether it was paper or rope. I mean, now they're using it for insulation. They're looking at it for sealing wood, concrete. I mean, there's
This goes on.
This isn't anything new either. The first pair of Levi's was hemp. The Constitution is written on hemp. The sails that we sailed over here, they were hemp. Now, this has been a versatile crop that we've just barely scratched the surface of here. Henry Ford made a vehicle completely comprised of hemp that ran on hemp. So its applications are vast as we continue to be able to cultivate it and establish the infrastructure needed on an industrial scale, which is really what we lack on the fiber side right now. We will be able to use hemp in a huge array of products. One of the things that we're working on right now is phytoremediation. Hemp actually works better than any other plant that we have found to date in cleaning up contaminants in the soils. That's something that we're doing out in Stillwell under Northwestern Oklahoma State University. We picked some different sites. We're planting some separate cultivars. And whenever I say cultivar, all I mean is a slightly different genetic. It's all cannabis, then you have marijuana, you have hemp. Then beneath that, every cultivar would just be a different strain. And there's a tremendous amount of them. Some have deep tap roots, some have wide roots, some work better in dry environments, some
Sandy
wet.
soils, you know.
Sandy, it doesn't matter. Hemp loves this amazing, lovely red clay soil that we have here in Oklahoma. It loves it. So it's actually beautiful. That's why during World War II, the Hemp for Victory, which we've got right here and we try to promote, that's why they enacted that act. Was in World War II, they brought in different cultivars throughout Oklahoma and planted them for the war effort. They wanted to see, because of our diverse climate,
For
and
breeding
also
seed is the main reason that they brought it in, because we had the most and the longest growing climates here in Oklahoma. Most of that seed went to states like Kentucky, where they're bigger hemp states now.
So there's a lot. There's a lot that we need to learn.
I think
There's
that's
a
where
lot
I was
we
gonna,
already
we've really jumped in very slowly in this process. Right now, we're probably working across the state, maybe 10 to 15 farmers right now.
Yep.
The university's probably, from what I'm understanding in the farm
State
bill,
representative
one state representative.
that's growing
yeah.
for us now as
Um,
of yesterday.
But probably within the next 6 to 8 months with the farm bill, they won't need the university's, I guess, help to continue this. But we're still going to partner with them because of some of the research that they're doing. And again, I think for us, looking at maybe some different industry, and I know we asked the same questions. Canola was supposed to be the next big rotating crop, and some of the things that we're learning with the different, things that hemp can be used for. It was just I've learned way much more than I ever thought I would about hemp. But I just thought that this group might be interested in learning a little bit about it. And if you had any questions, I wanted to bring these guys, and I appreciate them coming all the way from Oklahoma City. They drive all across the state. Ryan Early, the guy, the owner of the company, he was recommended to us by the State Department of Ag with Secretary Reese. And again, we vetted a lot of things, and we felt like, this group was the best group to go with. So,
Ryan Early has been very, very active since the beginning. He and John Eccles are personal friends as of this point, but they started with Katie's Law in 2017. He is very, very
Started
active.
business in 2016 as a CBD manufacturer.
And he's very active in legislation in this state. There's not a piece of legislation that has something to do with him that we're not a part of or haven't actually written, and then they redline. We're doing the same thing in Texas right now, consulting with the governor there. We try to bring, because we've got a beautiful working model that we've had tremendous success in boosting the economy with in a safe and professional manner. And we try to give that platform to other states to try to operate off of.
We're working with Delaware right now. We're working with
Delaware,
Arkansas.
South Carolina, Arkansas,
We've got a research project going on.
Missouri.
Right now, so.
The list goes on. It's a booming thing, and CBD is the big ticket item right now. That's the buzzword. That's what we're able to pay these farmers a significant amount more than any other crop if they're growing the CBD. But it's also, it's handled with the kid gloves. So we expect a lot, because again, it goes down to a supplemental medicine at this point. So it's got to be handled with absolute care.
Food grade in the field, pretty much. Yeah.
and there's, for us, we, through our contract, the crops are checked by HG, but they're also checked by the state at least once, to check for the percentage of THC. And, if it is above that, they burn the crops, they get rid of the crops. So, it's something that I think interesting. I think it's going to be a part, or hopefully maybe a part of our economy in the future. And like I said, I just wanted to talk to Ed briefly about it. And he said, well, that's kind of interesting. And I said, well, we'd be happy to come talk to you at any point. And my gosh, if he didn't get me in like the next month, he was pretty quick. But do you guys have any questions about anything while I've got these guys here?
Well, I do.
Okay.
Will it grow in Major County, the red crown?
It will
Absolutely.
grow in Oklahoma.
Absolutely.
Anywhere. It really will.
What's the growing season on
Same as any growing season, if it's outdoors. I mean, anything that's an annual that blooms, it's
it? So
gonna.
it's spring planted
Yeah,
and
we've
harvested
got,
in the
like,
fall?
Canada's planting in the next 2 weeks.
It could be a little bit later planting season from my understanding of even, I mean, we're
So
getting
because we're a
to.
little
you don't want to
bit
row
longer.
crop it, so if you plant it later, squeeze those centers in. Put it on a 3-foot instead of a 4 or a 5. But if you're planting now,
So 4 or 5 foot centers?
these plants can get very large.
Yeah, if we're planting early, we definitely want more 5-foot centers.
Because we're also
For
going to
the
train
oil or
them, you
for
can
fiber?
stress train
For the
them,
oil.
you can top them to where you're creating a bush more so, because you don't want a 12-foot plant.
What about for fiber?
Fiber's more drilling and seeding and.
You can cover crop with fiber, but again, that goes back to the infrastructure. Until we have all of the large industrial equipment needed, hemp traders in California, they have one of the largest hemp fabric portfolios. Everything's outsourced. Patagonia is doing a line with hemp clothing. Everything is outsourced. It's outside of the United States. We don't have that. I'm sure that there are multiple groups working on it right now as we speak, because it's not a secret that this is a huge and stable side of the industry. CBD is a bubble. CBD in 3 to 5 years will nominalize. It's not going to crash. It's not going to go away, at least from what our analytics have told us. But it is going to nominalize out in 3 to 5 years. Fiber, because of the infinite applications, has the potential to be long-term, very successful crop.
You gonna build a
It's all-
processing plant here?
That's the thing.
We could.
Yeah.
That's what I do,
That's
is
what
go
fiber
around
is.
and be
Well, I
the
mean,
first
I
to-
read an article where they shipped it and a truckload of hemp got stopped, headed for Colorado,
Alaska.
got stopped in Idaho or something like that, and they,
Confiscated
Yeah.
it and did all that.
and so I was just curious about the shipping process.
That was over the legal limit when they tested it.
Oh, it was? At the
was
time I
very
read
low.
about it, it was, I mean, they hadn't tested it
The
then.
2018 bill opened up a lot of doors with interstate commerce. Now it is 50 state legal to transport this. But
Oh,
does it
really?
look just like weed? Yes, it is.
100%.
But it can't have
it's
over the amount of
yes,
THC.
But as long
Okay.
as it's under that, and that's one of the things that we've been working with the college with, is collecting these, what we call land race, they're indigenous genetics from the Hemp for Victory Act, pulling those in, studying these genetics that we found that obviously grow here. We found them in the wild growing here. And some of these, we've even found a few strains that have 0% THC. Where the black market bred, THC and CBD have a direct correlation. The higher the THC, the lower the CBD, vice versa. Black market's been growing and breeding THC. Now we're going to do the opposite. We're going to get it out or close to breed that CBD high, because all of the properties that you see, the positives that you see from the cannabis plant, all come from that CBD side.
The money in hemp is going to be in the high CBD side right now in Oklahoma.
Forbes projects hemp to be a $22 billion industry by 2022.
The fiber side.
Where are you gonna have to get it processed, I guess is my question.
I've set up processing, there's process and refining facilities here in Oklahoma. I have them in South Carolina, Arkansas, Missouri, 2 going in Texas right now. They're everywhere. We could put one here. If you want to get vertical and really increase like a profit margin on a business scale, then that's exactly what we would do. You would grow an acreage or contract out acreages of hemp. Then we would put in a refining facility where you would extract and refine to a distillate or an isolate and sell that off. And we've got, because this is
Same way
increasing
with
at
the
such an
fiber.
exponential rate, I've got a laundry list of people that are asking me for 5, 10, 100, 1,000 kilos a month on 3-year contracts. Every refinery that we have up and running right now is contracted out for 3 years. You could not go
Just
in there
for
and have a spot
processing,
buy.
yeah.
But just to process that out, they take that biomass that you grow in your field, they turn it into a distillate or an isolated crystalline form. And that's what you find in your finished goods. So there is that 3 to 5 year number that I'm talking about. There's a window there. And the opportunity and the numbers are staggering, to be quite honest with you. I mean, this is what I've been doing. is meeting with these groups all over the
But
nation.
we're talking about the CDB oil right now. What
Yes,
about
sir.
the hemp? A
That's
different
side-
processing plant or all the same?
Yes, it's gonna have to be a different processing plant for the specific item that you're trying to create with that product. It's gonna have to be a refinery specifically made to process hemp into concrete. So
Okay.
it's gonna have to be refinery set up for the different industries, pretty much. So there's a lot of room for growth there also in Oklahoma.
You're always going to want on a fiber side a decorticator. After that, it could spread into where's your niche? Are you making fabrics? Are you making concrete? Are you making breastboard? Are you one of the things that we're exploring is filling in fracking areas with him. I have great success with that.
Yeah, down the hall.
Shingles. The applications are literally endless.
So have you set up any of these processing plants in rail yards?
Or we'll run track to it.
So who's carrying it once it's processed? What lines?
I don't know with the railing, but I know normally, right now, we're mostly relying on
won't?
trucking.
Not right now,
BNSF
BNSF will not.
Well, they
touch it.
won't,
We
they
haven't
won't
got the-
transport hemp, but they're saying you would change it from
right,
hemp
until
into a
you
product
add-
and they would then
And
transport
then
Yeah,
they will.
and I'm not sure what that is. That's the reason I'm asking you, what rail yards are you in now that you built plants on that are being transported by rail?
We haven't had to do that yet. We've not.
So you don't have any rail yards?
Everything.
This is all
we
new
have-
first year stuff, right?
Yes, we're building by track or getting track there.
But you said you had a bunch of processing plants.
We're transporting by truck.
And where are they? Where's the processing plant that?
We have one in
Got
Oklahoma
two
City.
in Oklahoma City.
Two.
But
About
aren't
to
they
be
oil
3.
processing?
This is all gonna be CBD.
See that? Yeah.
So
There's
no-
there's
There's
really
nothing
not
for
any
fiber.
Yeah.
that we know of for fiber.
Not yet.
Yeah.
There's nothing, everything that I've spoke about is in reference to extracting cannabidiol, the CBD oil from the cannabis plants. As far as fiber is concerned, that was the big issue that they had in South Carolina and why it's taken us a long time to get there, because from the governmental side, they're very gun shy. They let some guys come in, they let them sell the seed, they promised them the moon, they grew this hemp. Well, there was absolutely no exit strategy in place for them. So they just had a crop just set and rot in the field. I was talking with the assistant commissioner there in South Carolina not a month ago about it. And they vetted us for a very long time before they would take that call, but we're moving up through the channels.
So there is no fiber plant yet anywhere.
Oh, I mean, there's a plant, there's just no exit strategy for the farmer. I've got seed, I've got Colorado Gold.
He's talking about, no, refinery.
Oh, refining, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you produce something.
There's a need.
Not,
for
There's-
not in
that.
the United States.
Yeah.
Not yet.
What's the greatest need for it?
The need
Oh.
for a refinery for processing of the fiber side is what you're asking?
Yeah, the end result of the fiber. What's the biggest?
It's right now, there's really nothing saying what is going to be the biggest for the fiber side.
I think that's
Again,
where,
the
that's where it
applications
looks
are
at,
endless.
the applications, people are starting to try
Yeah.
to look at those type of.
Plastics, I've seen like a credit card thickness business cards that a friend of mine got.
I mean,
Completely
basically,
made of
everything
hemp.
I've ever talked about, it's kind of the chicken and the egg. I mean, is somebody gonna put the processing in, or are they gonna develop the product to use, or are they gonna grow it and then develop it off of that? I mean, would you disagree with that, or do you think one of those could be done easily and the others will come?
Me personally,
Well, without a plant, you don't need to grow it
yeah,
if you can't market it.
that's the thing.
You need a plan if you don't have it to process.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing about it
Right,
is
I
it's
mean-
incredibly cheap and it would be very easy to grow. I can tell you a pound of CBD seed is $10,000 and that's a good low price on it. A pound of fiber seed is $20. Easy seed to plant,
But it pays more, that's the thing. You buy
But,
seed,
yeah.
it's paying more money.
and
Fiber's obviously
with
not gonna pay as much.
if someone were to build a processing facility for fiber, the first ones to do it, I don't even, those numbers would boggle my mind.
Yeah, because
Because we have
personally,
farmers
we just send people
from
like-
one end of the state to the other that are just waiting. Please,
Well, if you were gonna
please,
build one,
please.
what would you build it to process?
I'm not as educated in the fiber side.
Well, then how
as
you know there's a
far
lot of
as-
money in it?
Just
If you don't know what you'd make out of it.
I listen to Forbes.
Oh, okay. I mean, I just.
I listen to the statistics. I listen to, you know, if you look and you see Patagonia, you see Levi's, you see all these different people that are already getting into it, but they're all outsourcing. There's already a very high demand, but it's all outsourced. Out of country.
outsourced because it's not available here.
Because nobody's opened up that facility yet. Would Levi's rather work with an American company? If the PR on that alone would be tremendous.
So from what I've read, if you are gonna produce the oil, then that's the only thing you're gonna get out of that plant, right? So you put an oil processing plant to get that. If you do the fiber side of it and you plant that, then the entire plant can be used for fibrous material. Now, is that a?
Well, the
is that a
entire
correct
plant's
comment?
gonna be used in the CBD side also.
So that's, you grind the whole thing
Yeah,
out?
because we require when we get it back, it's destocked. So the farmer keeps their stocks and they can actually either grind them up or reuse them in their soil, or there's processing plants set up for fiber.
And there's even on the oil side with what we would call post-processed biomass, stuff that's already been extracted, it's already been exposed to whatever our solvent is to get that CBD oil off of the flour. There's application for that.
Yeah, we
So-
use most of all the plant.
How many
Used several
gallons
times.
of this oil, I'm trying to figure out if there's an application within rail for the oil, but it doesn't
Be
sound like it's gonna
ounces.
produce, it's not gonna produce gallons, it's gonna produce ounces.
The rail is really whenever they will let us transport biomass.
Okay,
Because
Alright.
that's super sad.
so if that's the case, then we'd be more looking at the fiber side of it than we would be at the
Yeah.
CBD oil side of it, right? If, in order for the rail print, now, for a processing facility, maybe not, but what we want, our business is moving freight from point A to point B. And, am I right? I mean, I think, you know, that, but the processing plant sounds great, as long as it could be transported.
But that's even good. I think for them to hear that kind of stuff, let them go back and,
It's new questions for us. It really
Okay.
is.
Oh, I think from the fiber side of it, the rail is ideal, you know, but that's where the hurdle comes right now, is BNSF won't transport it in a fiber state. Now, I think the logical thing is, you basically refine the fiber side here, so that then when you're transporting, it's no longer hemp. It's then a product, a textile, just like any other drywall, wallboard, fabric would be.
Yep.
That's where the transportation component could come in potentially, but I guess the question is, what's the capital investment of a, processing facility for that kind of biomass of?
Well, and the
Whatever
usability
product
of it,
is,
right?
yeah.
You know, and I think those are questions that you guys need to go back to your people and find out. I think that, we got plenty of space, and I think we're ready to look, but we've got to for sure figure out whether there's a market.
That is something that we would entertain. However, I will tell you this, just to be completely candid, we're in the CBD space. That's going to be our bread and butter and our focus for the next 3 to 5 years at least. And we're so busy, I don't know.
Well, I mean,
And I'm not saying
I'm
it's
sure
not an
that,
option.
we're
That's
gonna
something
be
that
able
we
to
can,
help you.
we can sit around and cuss and discuss. I've got a friend that's been very proactive, as proactive as possible in just generating any and all information that he can about the fiber side. So if I tell him, and I'm speaking solely for Empire Genetics, for American Wholesale Hemp, we've got a vast network of close people that we do business with, that we're partners with, and other companies, etc., that are interested in this space. So I can speak with them. Hey, we have a group in outlet that they're contemplating actually funding a plant. What's that look like? What's that look like to you? What can we do here? So that's take it with a JJ in particular.
Yeah.
Loves it just like I do.
Ryan just said it would be interesting to hear what the group had to ask questions about. So.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, I'm still a dummy about it. I don't understand the stocks. We talked about that a while ago. What are you doing with the stocks now? Is that not where the fiber comes from?
In our instance, We
Uh-huh.
don't use the stalks for fiber.
What are you doing with them?
Well,
Like I
I
said,
think that's where the confusion is. From a CBD standpoint, what they do is the biomass that they have is so small and minute. I mean,
Right,
they're looking-
okay, but here's where I'm going with this. If don't really have a good place for the stocks, you're gonna tell me Burlington Northern wouldn't rail the stocks back here if we had a processing plant? Is that not where the fiber gets?
Yes.
And we get it coming
They
and
can
going?
move stalks because there's no.
There was
No
no
flour.
flour. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you don't get enough. There wouldn't be enough stalks off of a huge CBD oil crop
I
to
mean,
fill up a scissor.
Right, and
Yeah,
I
I
only
mean,
think
it's
it
just-
really pays.
Well,
the
I mean,
size
but
mass
get
of
it
it.
coming and going is all I'm getting at. That's where the rail park would work the best, is if you had it coming in and going out.
We got 6,000 acres that we're working on right now in Guyman. You're looking around 2,000 plants per acre for just easy
I mean,
math.
it's going to grow every year.
That's a lot of
I mean,
stock.
Next year it's going to be crazy how many people are growing, and in the industrial state or in the CBD state.
I can tell you, I mean, I said we're working with 10 to 15. I've taken probably close to 200 phone calls across the whole state and from Colorado.
Everybody wants in it, and everybody's looking at Oklahoma right now.
Is there
Perfect
anywhere in
climate.
Colorado processing the fiber side currently?
No, sir, not to the best of my knowledge.
And that's why I had one of the phone calls was actually looking for a processing plant for, the fiber part.
Yeah, that's something we need to divulge more into our knowledge also, so we have answers to these kind of questions. Like I said, it's just not 100% in our space right now, but it is something we need to be educated on correctly. So we can talk.
But this is the group that I think, that's why I wanted those questions to come here, because I know we'll get some answers back, because they've worked with us very well on, and even, with the CBD oil, there's still need for those processing plants even for that.
Certainly,
yeah.
certainly. I can give you some analytics on that as well. Last year, in the United States, there were 140,000 kilos of CBD sold nationally. Once the dust settled with all of our researchers, only 40,000 of those kilos were actually manufactured within the United States. Now that's all changing to where you can't import it. So there's 100,000 kilos that we need to go ahead and count for. Now take the overall climate of the United States. You've got whispers of Walmart, Target. We already know Walgreens, CVS. They're in the market. What if Coca-Cola threw CBD in one line, one beverage? And I'm not saying they are or not, but I'm just posing the question. That would be 250,000 kilos annually for one account. The applications in just the CBD industry are also quite large. You've got topicals, you've got edibles, you've got your oils, you've got, cosmetics, pets.
You can put CBD in anything.
You can put it in anything, and they love to put it in
Make a
anything.
transdermal
CBD,
patch.
beef jerky.
For pain.
Don't we think that
Like,
the DEA
I mean,
is
it's
gonna
good.
have to come, don't we think that they're gonna have to make a stand before this gets too huge?
It is already so large. If they were to
Stand
oppose
on
it,
what though?
Well, the legality of it, because it's still an illegal product.
no.
No,
Okay, I don't wanna argue about it, but it is not legal because it's a byproduct. And it's,
They've
DEA
actually
has got
separated the
to,
definitions
they have, but there is a fine line of separation. It all depends on the level of THCs
Yep.
in it. And
that's
the only
where
way
we
you're
work
gonna know
hard on
that,
keeping it below that.
correct.
In the
Or out of
genetic
it
side.
in our finished product.
But who's gonna control the level of THC in it?
The Department of Ag.
Okay, but who's gonna control the Department of Ag to know how much THC is in it? Are they gonna? The
They have a
DEA is
testing
the only,
that will be
is the only
out.
vehicle that produces the laws to be able to define the pattern on that. I'm not arguing
Yeah,
with
no,
you, I'm
no,
just saying,
trying
that
to
the
follow.
DEA is gonna have to make a stand one way or another before this is, I understand it's a large market. I get that, it's a very large market. I'm all over. But the DEA still has to make a stand on
I suppose they will, yeah, at some point.
Agree to disagree.
The
Yeah.
2018 Farm Bill is going to change. I would like for you to explain And has that passed yet, or
It's passed, but it hasn't went into effect.
it goes into effect?
We don't even know, we can't say, probably closer to November, yeah.
Which enables 50-state commerce, interstate commerce, industrial hemp, anything below 0.3%. The only issue that we're having, like why I'm not putting anything in Indiana right now, is their 0.3% total THC. Well, there's different types of THC, and the only one that we monitor, and most states monitor, is Delta 9 THC. There's also THCA, THCV, Delta 8, a lot of different versions of THC. Delta 9 is psychoactive. That's why we monitor that closely. It's next to impossible to get less than 0.3 total THC percentage, regardless of the cultivar type. But everything is moving in the direction of this industry continuing, and I don't look to see how big it goes. And I've got that from people that are way smarter than I am.
Shoot, I mean, we're medical marijuana in Oklahoma. How crazy is that?
That's a good point.
I have a question for Bo. Where do you see Northwestern in 3 or 4 years in this project?
Again, with the Farm Bill, I don't think, in terms of the university being, I mean, we're gonna have some
The genetics
partnerships with the
research side
genetics
of it will
research
still be
side.
there, yes.
We've got that with them. So we're gonna continue to
We
look at
wanna
those
maintain
genetics
that
and work
relationship
with that, yeah.
regardless, so.
But once the Farm Bill passes, in terms of farmers working through us, they won't have to do that, so.
Are you gonna pursue processing plants working?
Oh, you know, when we first talked about it, we've looked at, you know, people thought we were gonna have curriculum. I mean, those are the things we'll look down in the future, but again, we're dipping our toe in it, just like what you guys are doing with questions right now.
Okay.
But we've went and toured one of their plants, that one of their farmers, is doing with.
In Blackwell, right off the
Blackwell.
highway, you know, the big, the old outlet malls, the
Yep.
big red buildings. Well, the one parallel to the highway is an industrial hemp indoor growing facility.
Great facility.
18,000
too.
square
Beautiful
foot.
facility.
And it's professional, it's very nice.
Right next to a church.
Right next to a church.
Okay.
It's him, it's not medical marijuana.
And I know it's difficult.
Well, they're
Trust
talking,
me,
yeah,
I took
they're
1,000 calls
talking
early on
about
is,
buying
so I
more
heard
of
you
the
guys
church
are growing
parking lot,
marijuana.
possibly the church
No,
right now. For
it's
expansion.
a
they
different
want
deal,
out.
we're not growing anything. So I'll put that on record. Northwestern, on any of our ag land, we're not growing anything. We are kind of the sponsoring university.
Well,
Arkansas is.
Arkansas will be growing
Yes,
on their.
and there are other ones that
University of
are growing
Arkansas,
it.
we're doing both the seed variety study as well as a phytoremediation study. Phytoremediation study is going to be done in a greenhouse, Argus System,
3 years.
beautiful greenhouse, right there on campus. So I think they're probably
And
going to
that's
do
some of the things
security
we're
for that a
interested
little
with the
bit.
genetics.
But
If they find that right genetic that's gonna clean soil,
mhm.
that's gonna be big for everybody. I mean, in this
That'd be a
partnership.
big program in the school for
Yeah.
ag, in addition to the ag program.
So, I mean, are there some things in the future we'll look at? Absolutely, but we're taking baby steps.
Well, listen, we could probably visit about this
Yes.
all night, and I do appreciate you gentlemen coming up here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us, Ed. Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Thanks.
Yes, that's what I was just reaching
Yep,
for.
appreciate it.
I'm just gonna,
Thank you.
that's me, I'm just gonna throw some right there. Anybody that needs one can.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks again for coming.
It's a pleasure.
Any other questions? My number is right there on the card. We can do anything to help you guys in this space.
I would love to see somebody put in something to process fiber. That's one of my passions. We're just not there yet.
I'll get them working on stuff.
Thanks,
guys.
Thanks for your
guys.
time.
Okay. Very interesting discussion. Very good questions, especially Todd's. Got my water, sorry. Does any member know of any reason to enter into executive session at this time? Alan?
I don't.
Todd? Ed? skip down to item number 9. That's our finance report. The illustrious Todd will give us the State of the Union. Floor is yours.
What do we want to talk about? I think that everybody is familiar with the finance report. The numbers still look good. We have a train in this week, full train. That's positive.
2 last month.
We had a couple last month.
Very good.
Debt's going down. We're still accruing.
Keep this happy.
Happy, happy, happy.
You see the foreseeable future, as we were talking about all this previously. What is your view of our foreseeable future? So,
In that industry?
no, no, right. All this, are we gonna keep getting cars coming in? I mean, I know that's not your call.
Well, this is the time, that's all gonna depend on how much money comes up with road contracts. I mean, we got an asphalt plant sitting down there, and how good those salesmen are at selling rock. Commissioners are certainly doing their part to use what Martin Marietta can provide. It's proven to be good so far. We think it's gonna be looking forward in the future. As the wind project comes on, I certainly hope we have a bright and shining future with that.
I was told that the unit train that came in this week, half of it went to Venture, half of it went to Martin Marietta. And they did not expect another train till after harvest. And how good that was when I was told.
All right. Any other questions on the finance report? Good to hear positive on the end of the finance report. Makes the meeting go better.
We have a very good treasurer.
We certainly do.
I move for approval.
Here we have a motion on the floor to approve finance report. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded to approve the finance report. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Todd,
Yes.
Stan,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Alan? Yes.
Okay. Item number 10 is Sonia. Floor is yours.
Okay. 2 things, I guess. This came in the mail. Shirley just gave it to me. Sandridge, do you guys want to vote your ballot? Or do you plan to attend the meeting on who you want to be the new board of directors?
You don't have a lot to do, do you, Alan?
No, just looking for something.
Or do you want to abstain?
Ed, what's your pleasure?
Now, who is this again?
Sandridge.
Let's know what we want to vote on that deal.
Why do we get a
Do
vote?
we have stock?
And while you're pondering,
Did they
I
convert
did.
some of our debt to stock?
probably,
Okay, that's what they did.
while you're pondering, first of all, I'd like to thank you all for your help during the turkey hunt. Secondly, thank you for taking your time to visit with Rob out here while he was here. And I did go ahead and bring this with me because we talked about some possibilities. At the last meeting, Ed had mentioned that he wanted an idea of what additional infrastructure, if we were to do rail and stuff like that, what that looked like. And we met with Rob while he was here. It was you and me and Neil and Bob Firth. And he's proposing with the potential for the wind farm and everything and how our existing infrastructure is, his proposal would be that we would look at taking, and instead of doing a loop or building these out here, build an extension like out here. And then there would be a road where you could come around it, but this would still hold a unit train and we would still have service here as well. And
What is this?
that's H2.
That's what.
That's that facility. Cost-wise, new track, if it's new with your dirt work and stuff, it was what, $275 a foot. He did suggest that if we could pick up one of these lines and move it over here, but that defeats the purpose of what this was really established for and why. So the idea of still being able to bring them off and service, I mean, you could have onesie twosies up here. And then he also sent pictures again of the transload facility at Jonesboro. And
Our costs could be dramatically reduced by using used track, used rail, and picking that up. It wouldn't have to be a 115-pound rail, but it could be 90-pound rail that somebody's picking up
because
and replacing.
because this would be built on our property, it does not have to be. I mean, but then again, it depends on what's going to be brought in, and you know, he was kind of going from the cuff using on where this would sit to make sure of like turning radius for the longer cars and stuff, for the turbines and stuff. But potentially, this would be a better start for us.
And it more economical,
And
far more economical.
Yes.
Yeah, it's kind of like tipping your toe into the pond, you know, it's, instead of building a loop all the way around or starting building stuff out, it's kind of a tip in your toe in.
Where we were looking at,
And gets us separated, excuse me, Sonia, I interrupted.
no, you're
Gets us
fine.
separated from the main line and from the, the
I'm
two
sure
that are
you
so
got it
close together.
somewhere.
No, this was his chicken scratching.
Well, it's, what, 3/4 of a mile?
I'm gonna throw out, I mean, it was like
I mean,
$2 million bucks.
Yeah, that's what I remember.
So that is.
For new,
Huh?
for new.
That was including the curves and the switch
Right, and the derail.
and the derail.
And
But what is it, it's $275 a foot? Is that the
That's the new
that's
stuff.
the
Okay.
new heavier pound, the heavy pound. That's
Okay.
the high, that's like what we put in on this inside section.
Okay, but what is it then? Is it 135?
135 if we downgrade, yeah, but that's not, I don't think that's with the dirt work. Now keep in mind, this conversation was a month ago, and this is not my writing, so I'm sorry.
Well,
I'm trying to go from
And
memory
it's
here.
speculative, you know, we won't know numbers until we get soil compaction
But he's
tests
given
and
us
figure it out.
ballpark figures, so that's what, if we really want him to do this, he will gladly do it. He really thinks we would be benefited by a Jonesboro type facility and
Transload.
the transload facility. And basically what that is, I mean, it's like a shipping warehouse, and that they can pull up, push the cars up beside it, they drive right off of the dock into the car, unload, pull it back in, and store until they can come get it, or whatever.
Kind of an
trying to remember.
open-sided barn
what,
Okay.
with a concrete pad that's up to
Mhm.
train level, right?
and I know I've
So you
sent
drive
that
a
out
forklift
before, but I can send
Off of
those
that,
pictures.
stick it directly up, either off the car or out of the car.
Okay.
It could do lumber
And I'm
or
thinking that was
boxcars.
like a $300,000 to $350,000 investment. So, but that takes us down considerably to be able to serve more clients, for what we've been shooting for, which is around $9 million. That drops us down to less than 3,
The game changer in that
maybe more realistic.
is that we end up with having to find somebody to move the cars. You know, either we outsource somebody to move the cars, because BNSF's not gonna be,
And
And
until
on
they
the-
tell us they don't wanna do the switching, they will do the switching. Because they did not want us to outsource, but they could potentially if we do this. I don't foresee that, but they could.
it's been how busy they are, I'm sure.
And right now, I think that I don't look for them to ask us to do that. But this is a vision. It's different than what we had, but it seems
Seems logical.
more usable, yes. And one of the things that we were concerned about, or I was concerned about, and then would bring up, was if we had these coming in here like this, or we did the loop track, then we were worried about all the crossings. And if you had cars parked there and blocking other people from being able to use it, well, this kind of eliminates that. You don't have that issue.
And you could always decide if that was too far in, you know, if you wanted to take it back to the south and not take it quite as far up, if you know, it could be changeable. It's just putting your foot
But
in.
it's something for you to ponder.
And then a mile, it's 1.452. For just the 275 quarter.
Let's say that again, Neil.
2.5 million instead of 3, right?
1.5.
1.5
1.5.
million,
Yeah.
1.5 instead of 2.
Instead of
And
excuse me.
then
That's new.
the building.
And
Will,
then
Yeah.
include the
would
building.
be, what'd you say, 3?
We're still
4?
under, I mean, you're 2 to 2.5 million.
Mhm.
Bet you're gonna have a little bit of, I don't foresee us putting that here, I don't know, I still think it's a good idea to do over here, but you could potentially put one right here at the end of it.
Well,
There's
could go
Jonesboro.
all the way to the end. Because it'd have to go probably.
Wouldn't you need it
toward the
on
middle.
this end so you could load it as it went by?
No.
The idea with putting it on the west end was that spot there is prime for a transload area, when we talked about taking it
Down
north.
here.
Down in that area, because with shorter cars, shorter trains, you know,
One.
transload for a unit train's probably not that probable, but transload for five
Ones and twos.
or 10 cars is more probable. Unless it's an industrial deal, and in that case, we would hope that they would build the infrastructure themselves, right? If they were gonna unload a unit train of hemp, or lumber, or steel, you know, that they would need a transload for, that they would probably do it themselves, right?
Right.
Because they would
And
build into
potentially
that.
potentially the track is already there.
Okay.
So, anyway, that's something for us to think about, see if you want us to pursue, maybe getting more of a true estimate. Like I said, this was just coming off of the cuff, sitting down here with him.
I think it's very interesting. What's the wishes of the board at this moment on this? Pursue, think about it. That's what you're asking, right?
But it is, because keep in mind,
Who would do this estimate? Rob?
Rob would.
Would there be a cost?
I'm sure there would, but I'm gonna guess that it probably would be minimal. He's carried us quite a while. But I'm gonna need something, because right now we just have a plugged figure on our old idea. That's around $9 million that I'm trying to get out of an infrastructure bill or out of the build grant, which is transportation. And I need some direction on where to go, and I'm gonna need something some actual figures that I can justify when I go ask for that money. And those applications are due soon, so I need some direction on what I'm doing, what I'm going for.
Well, I'd like for him to provide us with what the cost would be to put that together for us. And I'd like to have an estimate if the cost isn't too expensive.
Okay?
Is next month, if you got the cost next month, would that cause you problems with putting your plan together?
Well, it's gonna take. I've been.
So let's switch gears just a second and talk about the grant process. I've been involved in trying to work through this grant process in several different ways. And Sonia has spent thousands, and Neil, thousands of hours researching and putting these grant proposals together. While I, like Ed, am interested to getting some cost estimates on the rail, I'm really interested in this looking at a consulting firm on the grant process. Somebody professional that would help us work through those. I don't have cost estimates on what those would cost, but I think that's an opportunity for us to take some research and some people who are experienced in writing these grants and putting these proposals together to come to us.
Application's July 15th. That's when it is due. I have to have everything.
Rob Graham provided hundreds of hours of free consultation when we were going down this path to begin with. And what I would like to do with Rob is see if he would enter into a contract for a consulting side that might include cost estimates or might include some brainstorming of what would work best with whoever we're entertaining. Give him some flexibility to work with the grant writers so that they could work together on trying to figure that out, as opposed to give a specific plan and have him put a cost estimate on what it would cost to put a specific plan in place. Does that make sense?
So were we basically listening to Todd and things and all the things, we're not gonna be able to meet your deadline for all this, right?
Right.
I mean, if we go, we're actually be looking at a next year's.
Well, I'm applying for it no matter what.
Well, that's fine, but I
Let's see
mean,
what I can get from him real quick.
if we were doing what Todd was saying, that would be a fairly in-depth. I mean, it'd be several months before.
The other thing, your grant programs may not be the same next year.
But if we had these consultants, that would be on top of that.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I think it,
I mean, you see where I'm going? I'm just
Sure, I
trying
do. But you know, we're not out of the water. We're basically at May 15th, so we've got 60 days to make something happen. If there's a consulting firm out there, you know, I don't know what it costs even, but if we can locate one that's good, I just know that we run Sonia ragged at trying to, you know, chase every lead we can possibly get to, and I think offering her some help on a consultant basis might make some sense.
I guess I'm gonna ask Ed this, since it's isn't on the agenda, and what can we legally do tonight as far as giving her direction?
I don't think we can vote on either item tonight. We could have a special meeting. We could do it in our June meeting, and it'd have to be on the agenda before we could authorize the expenditure of monies at this meeting.
We could ask for proposals, can we not?
Yeah.
Where we're not expending any money, we're just asking for, to do some research on both.
Then you could vote on it in June and actually then hit the ground running then.
or if something is found prior to that, have a special.
Special meeting.
Okay? When she comes back in, we'll see what she says.
She talked to Rob.
I think so.
Probably.
I like Todd's idea of bringing in the real consultants, grant deal. I'm sure you probably, did you utilize some of that out there on the arena project when you,
Probably should have.
Not
Yeah.
yet.
well,
We can
I
do
mean,
that.
okay.
And there's some that I can utilize through the Department of Commerce. I've been on the phone with them. And that is some of the stuff that they are starting to do as well.
Ed, why don't you share with Sonia what you just shared with the rest of us about your thoughts on what we can and can't do this season?
Yeah, I don't think we can, since it's not on the agenda, I don't think we can vote on the expenditure of funds. Although we could have a special meeting, or we could vote on it in June. Once we had, we don't have any figures in front of us, so we'd have to have some type of proposal on the agenda before we could vote on it, in my opinion.
I agree. And I just got us a quote for us to ponder over for the engineering or whatever in the design of the transload. He's gonna estimate, because he'd have to have somebody help him on design part on the transload, but he's saying 10,000 for that. And if it was gonna be more, he'd let me know. But that's an estimate ballpark figure. So that gives you something to ponder.
Okay, no, wait a minute, what's 10,000?
For design and estimating the rail
Okay.
and the
That's
facility.
his charge.
That's just off the hip, calling him tonight, that
I
would be
got
what
you.
that would be. So that's something for us to ponder. I mean, whether or not you wanna do that, but you asked me to look into it, so that's what we've learned, and that's just your update. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
Okay.
Todd also mentioned a consulting firm. Do you have one in mind?
No.
Are there,
Have I been looking? Yes, but I just started looking at that today because my grant deadlines are getting on top of me, and sorry, I've been in accreditation meetings about every day. So,
No one can deny how much you work on all of these projects.
Well,
So
no,
there's
that's
nothing
not what I'm
about
getting
that.
at,
We
but-
just need some help.
there's some hurdles that we haven't jumped and that, I mean, bigger fish have that maybe could guide us. Well, and I mean, heck, our executive director of commerce even stated there was things that commerce does that they didn't realize that they paid money for. And so I'm working, trying to find out how much more they can help us. And they are offering more than what they have in the past. So whatever we can get from there, I think we should. Will there be a fee? More than likely, yes. I know I had retail analysis done for Alva and for Winoka. And if I'd had anybody else done it, it would have probably been thousands, and it was $250 a piece. So it's minimal compared to if you go to a private firm.
I think we want to tell you that if we need a special meeting, you think it's urgency or an emergency to get something done, I think this board would be willing to come and vote on that or review it and make a decision if it needs to be done before the second week of June.
Okay, another, well, while we're on that, not just DOT money, NHOF's rep, Mr. Sproul, had sent us
Right.
notification of funds available through the EPA. Again, with our water portion of what we're asking for on our infrastructure, which would affect rural water district and stuff, but we're under short deadlines, and EPA is not something, as far as a grant process, that I have ever worked through. He's getting me some contact wants to, that maybe might be able to help, but I don't know. So just know that that's another avenue, because here again, they said, we need to try and jump through every hoop that's available before we just go and say, look, we just need this. So,
Okay. You've been a busy girl. Appreciate your efforts.
last year, we did apply on build for rail and for roads. And I can tell you, they still show pending, so I'm guessing that that is a bad sign. In review, I guess is what they say, in review.
Okay. Anything else on you? This is good stuff.
I'm glad Poe was here, because I go back him a lot.
He's a good guy to back.
He is.
I can attest to that. Okay. Item number 11, does any member have any new business at this time to be brought before the board? Randy's here, and I'd like for him to take a few minutes and just, he's met with the salesman down there and had some input on Martin Marietta on a new salesman with the rock. Randy, you want to just share with the board a few insights?
Well, Freddie's gone. You all knew that. And what's his name?
Joe?
Joe got his place. But Marion Stevens is the new rock salesman for up here.
Marion?
Uh-huh.
Joe Mathias is his boss, right?
Right.
Okay.
And I think this Marion is going to be good. He comes from Vance Brothers. He knows what he's doing. Byron and I had lunch with him last Friday, and for the first time, I feel like since that the Cunningham guy, what was his name? Jason. Since he's gone, I think there's an opportunity for this guy to move some material. He knows what he's doing and was asking what he needed to do. So I think that's a good thing.
Has he been to the CED meeting yet?
No, he just started.
He just-
And they're gonna be CD meetings tomorrow, and they're gonna be down in Texas, Joe and him both.
Well, our 5/8 rock went up $1 to 16.
Yeah, we're paying $15.75, but I anticipate it'd be at 16 on the next 6-month bid list. And I jumped them about that, and it's all free.
And
Still good value though, right?
Yeah. If you got money.
can you update the board about like one train, all 5/8, Randy? Like,
I
in the
think
last
they
couple months?
did, because we did run out one time.
Yeah.
And I think they did send a whole train of that.
You put quite a bit down yourself, right?
Yeah, we've used a lot.
And what's the response of
Oh,
your
It's good.
constituents?
It's really good. It's as good as the blacktop if you put the brine water on
It's good to hear.
Yeah.
Okay.
I rocked the best, for instance, is going west of the Avard Road or 370 into that old disposal, a big pit that JB has now. It used to be Clark's disposal pit out there. In April of 18, rocked it and watered it the next day, and we haven't put a grader on that mile of road that has had, I don't know how many trucks per day over it since April of 18.
What about the big rains on it?
It hadn't needed anything.
Interesting.
I talked to those guys at the turkey hunt, and they were pleased with the way the Avard facility was doing. And if I understood them correctly, they said they had already met their quota as of the 1st of May. And they were pleased with how the rock was selling and Randy was helping sell rock, and that, it was going well.
I mean, there's a lot of small accounts, but Byron's getting a lot of the farmers and stuff to use it, and they love it. I mean, but there's still people, and Byron and I talked to this Myron about it, about some advertising, because people don't know that rail yard's down there.
And that was something that we talked about at the turkey hunt too, and they want to have a bigger, community involvement, and so that's something that Joe and I are gonna work on.
Hot dog feed or something.
They're good, well, and they want to be their sponsor, like, of community events too, so.
But I've already talked to him about that. That's a major ordeal. I mean, I'm not saying they won't do it, but it's one of those chain of commands that has to go up the ladder a long ways for every little thing they do.
They've sponsored the last 2 years for the turkey hunt, and they want to get bigger on that, and I know that they asked for some other avenues, and I gave them some of those, so maybe it'll get easier. So, that's good.
Move adjourn.
Wasn't that?
Oh, okay. And don't second it.
I just want to speak about CMH2 here, drives home the point that Alan and Randy both covered our county schools, Freedom, Alan, Winoka, graduation, and awards assemblies.
I haven't did freedom yet.
Okay, excuse me, coming up, Freedom.
Right.
But anyway, H2 started a scholarship fund, and Randy's involved with that. And like I said, Alan covered Winoka, and let's see, how much money have we given out, Randy?
I don't know.
We give $300
For each senior.
for each senior.
23,000 in the last 2 years.
23,000 the last 2 years came about because of a deal that we cut.
No. We only got 20,000 to start with.
Okay, 2,300.
Yeah, okay.
2,300.
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
I remember 23.
Sounded better.
Zero. It was zero.
You're right, Randy. Long story short, it's $300 for every senior student to go to the college or
That's
trade
right,
school, 2,300, and of their choice. And all they have to do is participate at the County Livestock Show in the spring and be a member in 4-H or FFA. So anyway, we appreciate you gentlemen covering that, and that's all part of the rail park, and some good PR anyway.
23,000 is a pretty good hunk of money.
Well, it'll get there. There must have been 25 freshmen at Alba. I mean, it was pretty scary when I got up and gave 5 this year, seniors, and I said, I made a plug for it. I said, we're going to need more money, folks, if this many classes like the freshman class coming on.
We're going to try to sell a trophy at each one of these local trophy sales next spring, before when they spring, January, February, when they have them. And that money will be put back in there, and then of course the people want to give. A lot of people don't know that it's out there to give, and it's for an educational purpose. So now we can adjourn. Who wants to make a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ed. Roll call.
Stan,
Yes.
Todd,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Alan. Yes.